After achieving enlightenment or samadhi, what's next? Do you stop living? Do you stop paying your mortgage? Do you stop eating? The question of what to do next becomes even more complex. How do we live in a world that is governed by various political and social ideologies? What happens after we achieve enlightenment or samadhi? What's next? Enlightenment has been a central concept in many spiritual traditions, including Buddhism, Hinduism, Taoism, and Sufism. In these traditions, enlightenment is often described as a state of awakening or realization that transcends the limitations of the individual self and leads to a profound understanding of the nature of reality. Enlightenment, also known as spiritual awakening or liberation, has been sought after by humans for thousands of years. The concept has origins in several parts of the world and can be traced back to ancient civilizations such as India, China, and Greece. In India, enlightenment is a central concept in both Buddhism and Hinduism. In Buddhism, enlightenment is known as Bodhi and is the ultimate goal of the Buddhist path. The Buddha himself achieved enlightenment in India over 2,500 years ago, and his teachings have inspired countless spiritual seekers throughout history. In Hinduism, enlightenment is known as moksha or nirvana and is seen as the ultimate liberation from the cycle of birth and death. The concept of enlightenment also appears in the Upanishads, which are ancient Hindu sacred texts that explore the nature of reality and the meaning of life. We covered on our past video on yoga. Enlightenment also has roots in Chinese philosophy, particularly in the teachings of Taoism. The Taoist concept of Wu Wei, which means non-doing or effortless action, is often associated with enlightenment and the idea of aligning oneself with the natural flow of the universe. In ancient Greece, the philosopher Plato described enlightenment as the attainment of knowledge of the true nature of reality, which he called the forms. Plato's teachings on enlightenment and the nature of reality have influenced Western philosophy for centuries. Non-duality and the nature of reality. Enlightenment is often associated with the concept of non-duality, which refers to the idea that there is no fundamental separation between the individual self and the rest of the universe. Non-duality is a central teaching in many spiritual traditions, including Advaita Vedanta, Zen Buddhism, and Taoism. According to the teachings of non-duality, the experience of the individual self is an illusion, and the true nature of reality is a seamless and interconnected whole. Achieving Samadhi and enlightenment. In yoga, Samadhi is the ultimate goal of the practice, and it is seen as a state of complete absorption in the object of meditation. Achieving Samadhi requires years of dedicated practice and involves the cultivation of deep concentration, mindfulness, and self-awareness. Enlightenment, on the other hand, is often seen as a sudden and spontaneous realization that arises as a result of years of dedicated practice. The exact nature of enlightenment is difficult to describe, but it is often described as a state of deep understanding and awareness that transcends the ordinary human experience. But what happens after you achieve Samadhi or enlightenment? Is there anything left to do?
What we experience as the physical world of time and space, specifically space, and that is the sense that the world is dualistic. not even in a thinking way, not in a conscious thought-based way, but an actual physical experience of that's over here and I'm over here. So when that dualistic knot is untied, you can't even experience that anymore. You can't experience that distance anymore. There can be a thought about it, but there's no identity in that. The non-distanced or center everywhere or here and there at the same time experience is very clearly seen to be just the way it is, and there's no way it could be other. Yeah. And so it's like sounding, sense sensing, even thought thinking. It's just a phenomenon coming into being and disappearing into nothingness.
With no location.
Yeah, locationality is seen at this point to have always been a thought.
A thought. Mm-hmm. So location is that overlay we talked about in our attention piece of like, here's distance and here's the sensation.
Right. So with any sensation or any experience you're having right now, if you recognize there's no such thing as anywhere else because the presence has become so clear, right? There's just that sensation, literally. There's just that visual experience. When that becomes very, very clear, it's also very clear there's nowhere else. And when there's nowhere else, there's also no here. And so there's no differentiation between here and everywhere else. So spacing, the activity of creating seeming space in your perceptual experience is gone.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
As I understand, we are spiritual beings having a human experience. If we all agree on that, then we cannot have this conversation without looking into neuroscience.
We spoke about the concept of enlightenment, and he said that the possible biology behind it, and he's also someone who studied the Bhagavad Gita.
Yes.
So there's a part of your brain which is responsible for all your sense pleasures, which is your limbic system.
Yeah.
That's the part of your brain. Then there's a part of your brain which has the ability, after years of, say, meditation or evolution, theoretically, to possibly detach itself from your limbic system. That part is called your prefrontal cortex. So according to him and according to us on that episode, we said that maybe the point of enlightenment is where your prefrontal cortex entirely detaches itself from all its sense pleasures of the limbic system, of dopamine. So that's the neuroscience that I've understood, that you go beyond what your body craves in terms of I want sex, I want food, I want money, things like that. Anything that you lust over, you leave your sort of limbic system and the dopamine systems behind, and you entirely kind of immerse yourself into the higher pleasures which can be felt by the prefrontal cortex. Also, because the prefrontal cortex is sort of at the front part of your brain, theoretically, according to neuroscience, it's a part of your brain that can constantly grow. So what I imagine enlightenment to be is the point where the prefrontal cortex breaks away from the limbic system and then enters a new stage of growth, sort of. So anyway, that's the neuroscience that I have understood. Now I will let you continue.
Yeah. So first I'll tell you how the state is, enlightenment state-wise.
Sure.
So people have read about it, enlightenment topic. Then there are scriptures or books, big books on enlightenment topic, but none of them have experienced it. It's always about others, so read or told by someone. So as a naive, a beginner for spiritual people, when they refer to something like this, then they say, oh, then I need to be there. I need to experience what has been written in that book. But the fact is that person also hasn't experienced it. He doesn't know what this enlightenment is about. So people get confused, then I need to see that, divine consciousness expanding somewhere, everywhere. I become you and I'm everywhere. That way, people define it and then they say, I'm not experiencing it. I'm not enlightened. I'm not enlightened. I need to be there. I need to be there. The thing is, enlightenment is beyond your I. As far as this I is craving to experience enlightenment, you are far, far away from enlightenment state. So for me, it just happened that moment. It just happened.
The sentence you just said, the moment you start craving it, and that I is far from enlightenment state.
Exactly, yeah.
I'm assuming that your limbic system is also responsible for your sense of ego.
Yes.
And you're constantly feeding into your ego and you say, I want that enlightenment.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So see, limbic system is connected to your pineal gland, and pineal gland is something which is, your, I would say, supreme, state.
Your third eye?
Third eye. Wherein that gets awakened, and that regulates everything in your body. So all your experiences around your third eye, pineal gland, and then occipital lobe, and then parietal lobe, that's how I would look at it. And then you are there, but you are not there. So this enlightenment experience is also biological experience, physical experience. So it's not mental imagination. You know that this is what has happened with me.
Functioning in society and around family and friends. Achieving enlightenment or Samadhi can bring about a profound shift in one's perspective and way of being in the world. However, it can also pose challenges when it comes to interacting with others who have not had the same experience. In society, we are often expected to conform to certain norms and expectations, and the experience of enlightenment or Samadhi can sometimes run counter to those expectations. How do we navigate this tension between our own inner experience and the external demands of society? Likewise, how do we interact with family and friends who may not share our spiritual beliefs or practices? Can we maintain close relationships with those who do not understand or accept our experiences? How can we communicate our experiences in a way that is respectful and meaningful to others? These are complex questions with no easy answers, but they are important ones to consider as we navigate our spiritual paths and our relationships with others. By engaging in open and honest communication and remaining grounded in our own experiences, we can learn to navigate these challenges with grace and compassion. Perhaps the answer lies in the story of the Buddha himself, who after achieving enlightenment, continued to live a life of service and compassion towards all beings. Thank you for watching. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe on this video. Help us on the road to reaching 1,000 subscribers, as it will help us to be able to make consistent and great content like this.